Alright, so now we're going to be talking about the Boolean tools. The Boolean tools are up here in the edit portion of the ribbon. So we've got union, subtraction, and intersection. And I'm just going to use some of the stuff that I had up from the last video. But basically what we want to do is create or have primitives that kind of intersect with one another. So if I were to create another cylinder somewhat nearby here, and you can see that it's kind of crossing paths here. So it's kind of sitting inside the other, and you can see in this X-ray that they do sit inside one another. So the union tool basically is like join. All right, so I'm going to hit union, and I'm going to select my first object and then my second object, and I'm done selecting objects. So now I'm going to hit enter, and you can see that it kind of unions. I'm not going to say join because join is a 2D command. Union is a 3-dimensional command. You can even see the footprint changed, and the outlines sort of changed on this union. So that's the union tool. Now this is one solid object as opposed to two objects that are intersecting with one another. And now let's go into the cube. So I'm going to use the cylinder, and I'm going to start creating my radius, and I'm going to bring this up, and I'm just being very haphazard about it, but again, I've got one object intersecting another object. If I hover over them, you'll notice that they both highlight, which means there are two separate objects. Alright, so using the subtract Boolean tool, I'm basically saying to myself, what am I subtracting from? And then what am I subtracting? So if you can remember that order, then you'll be subtracting no problem. So I'm going to left click on the subtract tool. Okay, and I say to myself, what am I subtracting from? I'm going to subtract from this box. So I left click on the box to select it. Then I'm done with my selection set for selecting from. Okay, I'm going to hit enter to go to the next part of the command, and it says select objects. So I select the cylinder and hit enter, and you'll see that it finally takes that cylinder and subtracts it from my cube. Alright, so I'm going to undo. So one more time, I've got two objects here. I'm going to use subtract. What am I subtracting from? I'm subtracting from the cube, so I select it. Then to go to the next part of the command, I have to hit enter and then select my object I am subtracting. Hit enter after I select it, and you come up with your final product. Alright, now the last one, intersection. So I'm going to use the cylinder tool again, and I'm going to start my cylinder somewhere about here and bring it up, and you can see that it intersects just like all the other models have. And if I hover over, that one highlights. If I hover over the cylinder highlights. And now I'm going to use the intersection. So the intersection basically works like a union, except the end result is the leftover portions of our intersection. So I'm going to select my cube. I'm going to select my cylinder, then hit enter, and it keeps what is left over. So that's the intersection tool. So union, subtraction, and intersection.